Keith Wallis is the chair of this thing called the Passenger Distribution Group. And who knows what the Passenger Distribution Group is? Okay, a few people. And Paul Waite is the chair of the Passenger Distribution Group Advisory Forum. So what I'd like you, if you don't mind, maybe start with Keith. Could you just explain what the PDG is?
The PDG, well now it's the PDMG, right? So
Correct.
it's the Product Distribution Management Group. We're a group of, we were a small but mighty group of airlines at the beginning 3 years ago, probably only 4 or 5 of us. There are now, I think, probably about a dozen of us. It's a good cross-section of airlines from around the world. We meet quarterly in various locales. And the group is really the sponsors and the owners and the strategists behind NDC. And our goal is, well, the individual airlines are there, obviously, to represent their views. Regionally, we hope that the airlines come with a regional view about what is needed from us in that area. And ultimately, representing what the customer wants and what that airline's customer needs from NDC. And it is an interesting debate. It is always lively. We don't always agree, but that's the benefit of a group. And you're not wrong, Yanik. 3 years ago, we weren't all convinced this was ever going to see the light of day. It was a tough slog, to be sure. But I know there's some colleagues of mine in the room who are on PDMG, and I want to thank them for dedicating their time, because it's not easy to be away from your job for these meetings, but it's important work. And we now have 15.2 as a real thing.
Thanks, Keith. So, Paul, could you explain what the advisory forum is? So who's in there? Because you've been chair for, was it 12, 18 months now?
Yeah, about 12 months, and been involved in that discussion for around about 3 now. And it probably took me, a while to figure out exactly, what the value was and what we were supposed to be doing. Because, at first, Yanik, it was a very technical discussion. And it seemed very much a question of, factory out into the marketplace. And, over time, that's changed. In a short space of time, I think that's changed quite considerably now, whereby, as well as the airlines in the room, we've got technology companies. We have ourselves as representatives of the travel management community. There are people there from the online travel agency community, and we've had some buyers in there. And so what we're trying to do is ensure that we give input of value and of use, into Keith, so that he can then go into those particular meetings and add to the discussions and debate that he's actually having, about NDC and about airline retailing.
Keith, could I just come back to just a more general question for you, Keith, is because you, at Canada, you've been doing this kind of API connectivity for quite a while now. You used to have kind of 1 minute whistle stop. What's the value? Because for quite a lot of airlines, I think we did a survey in March of 178 airlines, and 70 already had some kind of XML capability, which means quite a few don't. So could you just give us an idea from your general industry perspective what the value could be?
Sure. So Air Canada has a certain amount of experience with APIs and XML distribution. A very short story, about 10 or 12 years ago, Air Canada went through CCAA, the Canadian equivalent of Chapter 11. If you haven't gone through bankruptcy protection, it's an incredibly sobering experience, I have to say. But we realized, our chief commercial officer at the time got the entire commercial group into a room and said, whatever we're doing, we're not going to do that anymore. That method of selling where Paul and I paid $2,000 different fare, we sat beside each other in the same seat, went to the same place, we both had our bags lost, we both got the same bad meal and saw the same bad movie. But Paul paid $2,000 more than me because he bought, a month later than I did. We're not going to be that airline anymore. And I don't care who we're going to be. You can jump left, you can jump right, you can jump off the end of the pier, but you're definitely going to jump. So there were a lot of scared looks in our revenue management folks' eyes, but we got through it, and we decided that we wanted to be a different airline and sell differently, and we created, for our own uses, fare families and ancillaries, and we said, we're going to be very open to our customers. We're going to be very transparent. We're going to make everything available. We're going to tell them that if they want the $99 fare, that's fine. If they want the $200 fare, I'm happy to sell you that one as well. And we realized that we didn't have any method to get that out into the world at that point. So beyond our own website, we were incredibly challenged, and we built these XML APIs to get our product out into the world so we could have that different conversation with our customers. And it's been incredibly successful. We have our fair families are named, and the least expensive, most restrictive one is called Tango. And now on our website and through our APIs, less than half of the customers who buy a product from us buy the cheapest fare available at the time when it's offered. So we're convinced that we're convincing our customers that there's value in seeing different opportunities. And that's really what we're excited about with XML APIs and NDC, because it helps us get that message out into the world.
Thanks, Keith. Back to the advisory forum, Paul. You're a man of your very integrity. You say what you think, and you have been very honest in these advisory forums. What's the thing that frustrates you most in these sessions?
I think progress could be quicker, Yanik, if we actually had consistency in attendance. I brought in, one of my colleagues in the GTMC, Gary, and even in the few meetings that he's attended, you actually notice that the people who turn up for these meetings, can be different. And sometimes it means that you're going over old ground as far as, that sort of, so we're going to build upon each particular session. So one of the, what would really help, move this thing on a pace would be, first of all, commitment. From people to attend for, and I'm trying to get more people engaged from a wider variety to be involved in, the debate. Don't lock things out, don't say no, don't think we don't agree. You have to earn the right to say that by engaging in discussion and debate and understanding what some of the challenges and some of the opportunities are. So I think sort of a broader community, but also a consistent, and if you're going to turn up once, please come back again and keep that momentum going.
Do you think there's anything missing in this advisory forum today, Paul?
I always ask our corporate buyers, basically people like ITM and ACTA. I talk to them and say, can I just make sure that the things that I'm saying are representative of what you, the corporate buyer, is saying? Because I do think that piece is missing. And I think that's a significant piece. I mean, there was a stat used before there, which I think is probably on the low side when you talk about, 30% of people traveling, are actually on, on business. I think, we use the word customer. I think you have to define the customer. I have two different segmentations. There's a passenger, and then there's the buyer. All right, and you need to understand that there is a significant difference between the two. So I'd like us to get more of the input from the buyer community, from a global perspective involved in this one.
Thanks, Paul. That gives me actually the opportunity just to remind everybody that, we now have a corporate buyer advisory forum that we set up at the first session in July, and we're having our second session on Thursday this week, and some of them are in the room today, and they're going to be on the panel with you, Paul, tomorrow afternoon. So maybe we'll get some more volunteers to come and join us. Keith, question, which is one thing that's always kind of bugs me, is we do often hear that people say, well, NDC, it's already there, so what are you faffing around? What are you wasting your time in all these meetings, Keith? What do you say to that?
Well, you hold them in some pretty nice places, so they're nice to go to.
That's very true. That's very true.
And I mean, we saw it published, right? 15.2 was published
1 September.
In 1 September, and there's now an accepted, established standard that everybody can work towards. But that was a ton of work, and we weren't sure we were always going to get there. But that's only half the battle now. And yes, NDC as a standard is available, but it was a means to an end. What we're trying to achieve now is broader sale of airline products, and you heard Henry talk about it in the previous session. Airlines need to change how we sell. If we're going to be profitable, we need to speak to customers in ways that they want to hear. So yes, NDC as a standard is available, but that doesn't mean that the customer is experiencing yet. And it's time for airlines and the intermediaries and all of the places where customers shop to embrace this so that we can actually deliver the benefits that we've been working so hard for 3 years.
So what you're saying is that today, that kind of equivalent doesn't exist as such, and it's enabled with the existence of the standard now. Is that kind of a way of paraphrasing?
Absolutely. This is the milestone that I know we've been waiting for, because now I feel like the real work can begin. Now we can start having better conversations with our customers.
Paul, just maybe last comment from you and close this little session, which is there are quite a few airlines represented in this room. From a PDG advisory forum chair, maybe with a bit of a travel agent TMC background, what would your key message to them be?
Well, I'll probably state the obvious, Yanik, really. If I may, I'll refer back, the 43 years I've been in the travel industry. I spent between 2000 and 2012 as General Manager of Sales for Virgin Atlantic. And when I arrived at Virgin Atlantic, our market share was commensurate with our capacity share. By the time I left Virgin Atlantic, our market share was double that of our
Capacity share.
Thank you. Our capacity share. Thank you. And also that the share of indirect versus direct had actually risen. Now, there are many reasons for that. One thing that we did differently was that we understood intimately the need of the corporate buyer and the need of the travel management community and the travel agency community. So the point of saying that is as you move from here and you develop your airline retailing strategies and you think about your future sales and distribution strategies, don't make assumptions. Really do understand the impact of what that may be for the people who actually buy a good chunk of your particular product. So do make sure that you build that into your thinking, please.
Okay, thank you very much. So just to wrap up, in terms of next steps, what's coming in the program, on the technology side, you'll hear Claude later this afternoon is going to talk about what we're doing in the area of certification. There's going to be some work on secure token, and of course, improving and enhancing the standard. With the travel agents, you'll hear in a sec, Otto is going to present you the study we've done. We're going to continue to work with the travel agent community in the way Paul's described it. And we're going to intensify our work with the corporate buyers, as I mentioned earlier. And finally, as per Paul's point, we're going to work harder to support the airlines even more. Because the feedback we're getting from airlines is that they want to know where to start. Because there's a lot of stuff. There's offer management, there's order management, there's your key merchandising piece in there, but there's more to it than that. So we produced a change readiness guide for small and medium airlines that's available at the IATA booth just around the corner. It's a 30-page document which you can just take for anyone. If you're appointed NDC champion in your company, it gives you all the steps we recommend you could go through that will help you in your journey to NDC. The checklist, the stakeholder engagement, includes talking to your travel agent partners, corporate buyers, etc., and to your IT partners as well. So if you're interested in that, please go and have a look. So I'd like to, please give a round of applause to my two envoys. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well done, mate. Yeah.